I would start. I see that there are a lot of participants already connected. So as first, thank you very much for attending to our webinar. So for us, for Aseptconn is the third experience of this kind of info activity. And I introduce myself, and then I will give a word to Frank Sage to introduce himself, to explain his role. My name is Laura Busacchio, and I work for Aseptconn. I am in charge of sales, and as probably you already know, Aseptconn is a leader for all the activities related to sterile fluid transfer. And in this specific experience, we would like to share with you which are the designing optimized WFI loops with a focus on activity on WFI with the exergy solution. I give a word to Frank to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Laura. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our webinar. My name is Frank Sage. I'm the Business Development Manager for Exergy in Europe, and I'm based in Dublin, in Ireland. We're looking forward to sharing with you over the next 20-25 minutes the solutions and the engineering support that Exergy can deliver in the consideration of WFI distribution and dispense. So we hope this will be interesting. It covers a wide range of applications or a wide range of design considerations. And we look forward to presenting, and we look forward to your feedback at the end of the presentation.
Okay. So, as you already know, the webinar, it will last less or more 1 hour. We will leave a space for a question at the end of the webinar. Obviously, you can use the chat or the answer activity in order to give us the opportunity to see what you want to know. And in every case, you will be obviously free to contact us at the end of this experience. The webinar will be recorded, so at the end of a session, we will prepare for you a communication tool, and we'll receive the presentation that we are using. And obviously, we will be free to ask, and for me and Frank, all of the necessary questions. So I will start to enter to the focus of today's discussion. We will be focused on waterfall injection, WFI, that is a critical ingredient in drug production and is a lifeblood of the pharmaceutical manufacturing industry. Keeping WFI media free for contaminants is really important in a production process, because we know that the patient safety is at high risk if this media becomes contaminated during the dispensing or during the distribution. That's why when we have to work with the waterfall injection, we have to respect as much as possible the gold standard for sterility. So in the most traditional methods, all the Wi-Fi is generated and distributed in high purity stainless steel loop at a constant temperature of 85 degrees, keeping the loop sanitary. And is this value that must be guaranteed when you arrive at the point of view dispenser requirements in order to respect all the quality requirements for production process. Sorry, probably okay. Sorry, I have to move the next one. Okay, which is the critical point when we talk about sterility and safety. The critical point is to guarantee that the safe dispensing and sampling happens respecting all the characteristics of sterility and quality, but at the same time preventing the risk for operator, because the operator's safety is paramount for all the activity inside the production process. So safety considerations for operators are central when designing terminal WFI distribution loops. one most effective ways to ensure that a WFI is free from dangerous bacteria is to sample the media frequently and routinely. Sampling is not only important, but it's mandatory requirement for FDA. So we have to sample the WFI to respect the request of Federal Drug Administration. Taking samples or dispensing for process application from a thermal WFI loop at 85-degree media can place staff at risk of serious injury because of the high temperature of a water flow injection. So, a proven way to safely dispense or sample WFI media from a thermal WFI loop is to cool it down to approximately 21 degrees. So, are we able to guarantee at the same time optimal safety and sterility? Because this is the topic of this line of discussion, considering that in order to respect the requirement, we have to guarantee that the limit of colony forming units for water flow injection is minus or equal to 10 for 100 milliliters. When the temperature is maintained above 71 degrees, less or more, virtually all pathogens are dead in 30 minutes, including critical bacterial, toxin parasites, for example, Cystisporia or Giardia, and at 85 degrees, all this typology of pathogen are dead in a very few minutes. What happens if we cool to a safe temperature to guarantee the lower risk for the operators? It can happen that obviously all the pathogen can be resistant to the temperature, and it could happen that the limits of 10 colony forming units is not respected. In fact, when the thermal WFI is cooling at the temperature of ambient in the distribution loops, we need a lot of monitoring at the dispensing, instrumentation, and sterilization size. When we sterilize and we optimize this typology of monitoring, in terms of manufacture, we have a high risk to have to stop at downtime all the process, considering that we could have 12 hours hot WFI sterilization every 2 days, less or more. But it means obviously loss efficiency and an increasing in terms of costs in the complete process. As more, if we add the concept of sterility to the concept of safety operator, we have to check and verify if we are able to guarantee sustainability too. More and more, we know that the concept of sustainability is becoming always more important when we have to analyze a process design and consideration about the engineering. Obviously, in the best solution, we would like to have the WFI available for our operator all the day, at every hour, and at the same time, to have always the possibility to be able to be sustainable and sensible to the environment too. But we really can maintain the situation and the state of sustainability using the traditional methods that normally are applied for engineering in a WFI generation option. This is the introduction to the technical part. As probably you already know, at the moment, we have 3 main technical processes to produce water flow injection, 3 generation options. The first one, which is called thermal, like the second one, is a multiple effect distillation. The second one is the vapor compression, and the third one, that is the ambient generation production, is realized using a technology that is membrane-based. The first two, the thermal one, so the distillation with multiple after compression and the thermal with vapor compression are well known and normally use thermal distillation methods with good energy efficiency and proper reliability. But it can have high capital finance investment and operating cost. The membrane base is newer, is more sustainable technology with a lower energy consumption and operating cost, but requires careful management of membrane and feed water quality. So the choice of the technology depends on the cost and on different factors on large scale, for example, energy, regulatory requirements, and budget. And it's why we have to understand and better verify which is the general option that is more sustainable and more suitable for our request. And this is the first part of the introduction. And I will say that, Frank, if you want to add something about this part, we can move to the next one, which is more technical, as you prefer.
Thank you for the introduction, Laura. It's really, really helpful to outline the challenges that face all designers when it comes to the generation and distribution and dispense of WFI. And I think you've highlighted very well the major challenges are sterility. We've got to maintain this critical utility in a sterile state. You've also highlighted very well the hazards of safety, where hot WFI can and does cause injury, and very often in sites where thermal WFI loops are the preferred option. And then the sustainability dimension, which is increasingly a major consideration, and rightly so, to reduce the carbon footprint in all of our pharmaceutical manufacturing. So I think you've covered that very well. You've highlighted very well the three most prominent ways of generating WFI. And I think it's important to remember that when we now come to consider how we distribute WFI, it's actually in the distribution and the dispense of WFI, regardless of how we choose to generate WFI. It's in the distribution and dispense where all of these issues really come to the fore. Sterility is a serious issue if we handle WFI in cold loops, and we'll have a look at this. Safety is a very, very critical issue if we handle WFI in hot loops at dispense. And sustainability is also a strong consideration in how we distribute and dispense WFI, because it is in the distribution and dispense decisions, and it is in the distribution and dispense design where most of these considerations are at their highest. So from your introduction, we will now look at some of the traditional ways in which WFI is distributed and how it's dispensed. So on this first slide, we're looking at a thermal generated WFI, or WFI rather, heated generated from multiple effect distillation, for example, or vapor compression, but it's generated hot and then it's cooled down. So you have hot WFI and an ambient WFI loop. So this design involves heating the WFI and then cooling the entire loop down to an ambient temperature for long periods of time to supply ambient WFI to users. If you could just move that next, just click that once for me there, Laura. Thank you. So because WFI is subject to the most stringent regulatory requirements, as Laura highlighted, the regulatory limit is less than or equal to 10 colony forming units per 100 millimeters or milliliters. All ambient WFI loops, all cold WFI loops, regardless of how the WFI is generated, require an even more robust level of monitoring than thermal loops and a thoroughly tested capture system to check for microbial excursions. So in order to mitigate potential contamination excursions in ambient WFI systems, many quality managers are turning to very costly online water bioburden analyzers, or OWBAs, to upgrade their protection of this bioburden threat within their systems. If you could just move that on one sec for me there, Laura. So these systems are being selected. They're analytical instruments providing real-time or near real-time measurement of bioburden in purified water systems. Again, if you could move that on for me, Laura, please. The purchase, installation, and full qualification of these OWBAs is in the region of 180,000 euros. So these and many other issues must be considered or addressed when choosing where to install online water bioburden analyzers. Here are two of the most common considerations that a designer may need to look at if they choose to distribute WFI in an ambient loop. The cost of having one of these analyzers at each point of use in an ambient system would be very, very high and can be quite difficult to manage because of the installation space, process equipment functions during sampling, and other factors. Because these systems use very sensitive measuring technologies, there is a high risk that the instruments could be damaged if they are moved, and this may be a substantial concern if the intent is to use a bioburden analyzer at multiple locations. In other words, it's not very practical to move one of these systems to various points of use. Regular and costly calibration is needed to remain within GMP regulations. And finally, this system requires 24/7 high delta T, 60 degrees C, high energy reheating on the return leg and on the cooling supply leg. If you could just click that next slide for me, please. So sterility is a very, very real concern on an ambient WFI distribution and dispense design, with hidden costs, increased vigilance, and regular calibration of instrumentation needed to comply with regulatory GMP standards. So if you could click this here on again for me, please. Typically on a cold WFI loop, if it's thermal generated and then cooled down, typically you will need regular full loop sterilization of a minimum of 4 hours downtime per day. One client told us that the entire thermal loop cooled to ambient, or is cooled to ambient, for up to 48 hours before requiring hot WFI sterilization cycles. So they have their WFI they run for 48 hours, but within that they need between 8 to 12 hours of sterilization. So that's anywhere between 16 to 24 hours downtime per week, or 34 to 52 days downtime per year. So offline heating may also be needed where thermal WFI is required for certain points of use. Expensive. If you move on, we're looking now at thermal generated and a dual WFI loop. This design is quite common. So we have a cold loop and we have a hot loop. So we have twice the design, twice the components, and these dual loop designs are often created to meet the need when we need hot and cold WFI. And this again involves thermally generating hot WFI and then dividing the supply and dispense into two loops. Again, we have sterility concerns. The same sterility concerns are on the cold loop. Again, there's safety concerns if you can click that on the hot loop. And again, there are downtime concerns for sterilizing the cold loop. So taken together, there's an increased bioburden monitoring, high energy cooling and heating, and sterilization downtime. So if we look then at another choice that's made in the distribution of WFI, we can have a thermal WFI loop, this time with offline cooling heat exchangers. So this design involves heating the WFI and it maintains sterility in the loop, but not in the offline single point drops. There are a number of issues here that need to be considered. The first is sterility. Because the offline heat exchangers are offline, they're cold and there are sterility concerns. So these offline point of use heat exchangers need to be sanitized with hot WFI being dumped to drain prior to use. And that process takes about 6 to 10 minutes. In the box on the side where you can see the assumptions, we looked at some basic figures that we were asked to do for a presentation at a major consultancy in Europe a number of years ago. So we calculated some basic figures for offline cooling on a thermal WFI loop. We assumed 520 liter per minute points of use, each used twice per day. For the sterilization cycle, that would be 2,500 liters per week of sterilization being dumped to drain. And after the sterilization, once that's done, the offline heat exchangers then need to be purged to drain for about 5 to 6 minutes with ultra high purity nitrogen. After this, conventional shell and tube heat exchangers take about 2 minutes to cool to the desired temperature, again, dumping WFI to drain. So when we look at the sterilization, we look at 2,500 liters per week of WFI being dumped to drain. When we look at cooling, we look at 2,000 liters per week. So on average, if it were 5 points of use with 20 liter per minute dispense used twice a day, you would be looking at about 4,500 liters per week of WFI lost. We calculated a very conservative figure of €1 per liter to generate WFI. And across the period of a year, on the basis of these numbers, we would have 225,000 liters per annum of WFI wasted. And that equates to €225,000 per year and approximately 6,000 operator hours. So when offline heat exchangers are used to dispense cold WFI at point of use, it takes an average of 8 to 10 minutes from demand to dispense, with significant WFI waste and operator safety to be taken into consideration. And before I have a look at the solution that Exergy supply, and are now the solution of choice for some of the world's largest pharmaceutical manufacturers. Have told us that they will only use our solution because of the flexibility that it delivers, because of the sustainability. And in effect, what they are achieving is they are able to reduce their energy loss, and we can look at this in a moment, able to reduce their energy loss, but maximize their productivity. And this really is the best of both worlds, to reduce your carbon footprint while having the maximum amount of productivity available within the facility. So whenever offline heat exchangers are chosen, or offline heat exchangers can take 8 to 10 minutes before you can have the cold WFI. Our systems, as you'll see in a few moments, can do this in approximately 30 seconds. We can maintain full sterility all the way to the process equipment itself with no sterilization downtime, and we can reduce significantly the amount of instrumentation needed to ensure the sterility of ambient WFI distribution, and indeed the additional sanitization steps that are taken there. So this is our solution. We supply point of use coolers with their own integral sub loop. So we don't we recommend, and we work from the conceptual design phase very often on the major projects that we're involved in, to look at all of the applications that are needed. If you could just go back a step, Laura, that would be helpful. We look at all of the major applications that are needed in distribution and in dispense. So chromatography skids, parts washers, wherever there's process equipment that needs WFI, we work with the design teams to optimize at each point of use the flow, temperature, variable flow, variable temperature, to eliminate WFI waste, to maximize productivity through instantaneous availability of WFI. And we can achieve that 24/7 with no downtime for sterilization. So we look now at a typical exergy solution. So the first thing that we do, we can achieve with our systems, is there's no need to have any UHP purge cycle post-sterilization, because there is no sterilization needed. If you could just move that on again for me, please. So the hot WFI sterilization is removed. The ultra-high purity nitrogen purge is also removed. And 24/7 sterility is maintained. And I want to just dwell on this for a moment. This is a very, very important consideration here. We are able to ensure full sterility all the way to the process equipment. Some of the major global pharma companies who have worked with us on projects now over the last 8 to 10 years have consistently refined their WFI distribution and dispense because of the compact design of our systems, to specify zero ambient pipework, no cold pipework whatsoever within their distribution and dispense, right through to the process equipment. And this is very, very important. If you wouldn't mind just going back a step there for me, Laura. So it's important for us to just dwell. If you could go back a step, that'd be great. A couple of steps, please. Before we get to that instant, we maintain sterility 24/7, and this is quite a critical thing to dwell on, because a little later we'll see other savings that we make through the elimination of waste. But it's important to consider that we can, working with our clients, ensure 24/7 sterility, ensure 24/7 availability. If you could just move on to the next, just click once for me. Instant on-demand dispense 24/7. So here's two major elements of what we work on every project. We work on full sterility, and we work on instant on-demand dispense 24/7. So we can supply safe, sterile, variable flow and temperature, WFI, on demand 24/7 with zero downtime as for sterilization. The other element of our design capabilities and our partnership that our engineering group offer and do quite regularly, actually every single day of every working day, our engineering teams are involved in conceptual design discussions, involved in specific design discussions for each point of use, and calculating return on investment, which is very often within a year. So we can provide this. We can deliver the metrics to demonstrate how we can save, not only save in terms of waste, but pay for the cost of these systems typically within a year. And we're more than happy to do that. So again, we're able to deliver safe, sterile, variable flow and temperature, on-demand WFI 24/7. And here we're able to then say to our customers that this really is what we term to be sensible sustainability. We need energy to manufacture our goods. We need energy to do all of the things that we need to do in production and manufacturing. And where we have this critical utility, this most critical utility, to be able to take care of the safety, sterility in a sensibly sustainable way is not something that we have found many of our potential customers are aware of. So we wanted to highlight that today. So what about reduced capital expenditure? How can we reduce that? So when a WFI distribution loop is designed using Exergy Purex point of use dispense systems, we eliminate WFI waste. We can completely eliminate WFI waste. And the elimination of WFI waste downsizes the WFI generation and storage required to meet the process needs. So again, quite often, there's significant overcapacity designed into WFI distribution and dispense to take care of WFI waste, to ensure that WFI is going to be available, and so there can be significant overcapacity designed in. We eliminate the waste, and eliminating that waste not only downsizes the generation. If you could just click there for me, Laura, it not only downsizes the generation, but it downsizes the storage, it downsizes the number of components, it downsizes the diameter of the distribution loop itself. And we have many case studies that we can discuss where we can show that this has taken place. So these are, again, considerations that may not always be visible when conventional thermal WFI loop designs are considered, or when thermal WFI generation is considered. These are often not visible at the beginning of the conceptual design phase, But when our team are involved, we can look at all of the ways in which energy can be saved, waste can be eliminated, downtime, sterilization downtime can be eliminated, and capital expenditure can be reduced due to the reduction of waste and energy. This is common in our experience working on projects. So what about reduced supply, installation, testing, and commissioning costs? So again, as partners, as we are on many WFI distribution and dispense projects, it's again, I say we're doing this every day and increasingly so. Not only are fewer smaller generation storage and control components required, but supply, installation, testing, and commissioning costs are greatly reduced. There's one purchase order, one supplier. Every one of our systems is a packaged system, fully performance tested at the factory before it's delivered to site. So every system arrives to site fully performance tested to the specified custom design, however complex that may be, in terms of multiple phase, variable flow and temperature. The systems arrive fully performance tested and can be installed literally within an hour, two chilled water and two WFI connections, air and power, and a very simplified plug and play startup. So in the consideration of this most critical of utilities and its distribution and dispense, which is the location of all of the hazards of safety, of sterility, and of sustainability, which is the distribution and design. This is where we've been very, very effective in working with our partners to reduce this. So what about the reduction in design, installation, performance, and operational validation? Again, when our team are part of an integrated team, very often involving the engineering consultant, the end user, the third-party process equipment suppliers, in frequent conversation about the integration of our systems to the needs of the process equipment and so on, the communication that's required between each point of use dispense and the plant control system and the various pieces of process equipment. All of this work is done in advance of and in parallel with the build and the delivery of our point of use. So when a loop is designed using our point of use systems, our integrated package design simplifies and therefore reduces not only design and installation qualification time and costs, but also the ease of installation and with a simplified plug and play operation. Performance and operational qualification can take place very efficiently alongside the site acceptance test. So a single purchase order, a single supplier, but more than a supplier, an engineering partner delivering custom built, fully performance tested point of view systems created specifically for each application within the client's distribution and dispense requirements. So simple operation qualification, performance qualification during SAT. So finally, to sum up, our solutions provide a safe and sterile and sensibly sustainable solution to the challenge of how to distribute and dispense the most critical utility in pharmaceutical manufacturing. Our goal with our customers is, in all of our design discussions, to achieve uninterrupted availability of WFI, uninterrupted availability, on demand and safely dispensed high volume WFI. Our systems can deliver up to 13,000, in fact higher, but up to 13,000 liters per hour of WFI instantaneously and simultaneously across multiple points of use. They can deliver variable flow and temperature, 24/7 sterility with zero waste, low operation costs, and full return on investment within 12 months. So we're on a mission to, I suppose, express our interest in partnership with the engineering design family across Europe, who are considering daily how they will tackle and how they will deliver this critical utility in a safe, sterile, and sustainable way. Our goal for every customer is to maximize productivity while reducing their carbon footprint. And this we do increasingly, we do globally. We have global partnerships now with some of the world's leading pharmaceutical manufacturers who have adopted this philosophy as the most sensibly sustainable way to maximize their productivity within their facilities. So thank you for your time. We hope you have some questions. We've covered a lot of ground. Please let us know if there's any questions. Raise your hand, or yeah, let us hear what feedback you'd like to bring.
If there is some question, Valentina, non so se hai raccolto qualcosa in chat.
So I have a question here. Could you please elaborate on the working principle of the exergy point of use? That's a very, very good question. The working principle, I will endeavor to share a screen here, but the working principle is really based around the efficiency of the exergy compact shell and tube heat exchanger. So let me see if I can just find for you very quickly an answer to that question or an illustration. Just bear with me now, one moment. Excuse me. You will forgive me. I'm so used to working with Teams, and I used Zoom during COVID, so I'm re-educating myself a little bit on Zoom. So bear with me again. Again, my apologies. I think I have what I'm looking for here now. So, okay, yeah, I'll share my screen now. Again, let me navigate. Yeah. So Laura, can you see that screen?
Yes,
that's great. Thank you. Okay, so to highlight the working principle here, what we have is a subloop design. Exergy manufacture the most compact shell and tube heat exchangers on the market, and that enables us to create a very compact subloop within a cabinet. You can see a small illustration here, but this is the principle. You have your main WFI loop here. We have a header valve, which creates a back pressure through a subloop, maintaining sterility through that subloop at all times. And during the cooling cycle, we begin to introduce chilled water through our heat exchanger. And within 30 seconds, we get to dispense through our dispensing valve here. This is a very basic PNID, as you can see. We have far more sophisticated designs, but that's the core principle of how we do what we do. And it really is based on our heat exchanger technology, which is, again, the most compact on the marketplace at the moment. Give you some idea. Here would be a conventional shell and tube heat exchanger with trim cooling of a delta of 5 degrees C for 300 liters per minute. Standard U-bend, a U-tube rather, shell and tube heat exchanger, 2.7 meters long, 250 millimeter diameter. Our heat exchanger, to do the very, very same job, and this is to scale, would be about 16 kilograms, 100 millimeters by 0.7 meters. I hope that answers your question. We're more than happy to have a more detailed discussion, but I do hope that that helps to answer that question.
Thanks, Frank. If there is somebody else who prefer to write, or if there is some question again? No? Okay. So I would say we are perfectly in time. For every question or doubt, or if you want to connect, thanks a lot, for very interesting, to connect, will be a pleasure for us to answer even by email. As anticipated, you will receive all the material. The webinar will be recorded, so if you need to review or you want to see the slides, not a problem. It will be a pleasure for us to ask everything, even in the future. Thank you very much for attending to the webinar. Thank you very much for your attention. And thanks, Frank, for your participation. It was really, really useful for us.
Thank you, everybody. And as Laura says, we remain available for more detailed discussions if you need to follow up.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.